Good day, ladies and gentlemen. It's the Prairie Banana over on Pulse Chain. The home? I'm going to have to think of a better way to say that because I've got ideas about us like dominating Pulse Chain. Like the home, the custom home. I don't know. How do you put it, man? When PTDC and UFO, the Grace currencies, are doing so well over here on Pulse Chain, it almost seems like we were built like Pulse Chain was built for these assets. Fix my collar a bit. We're going to be doing spaces, X spaces, Twitter spaces. We do them on my phone. You guys can chat in here. Andreas Caden, good morning. Good morning to you. It's good to see you. And I'm going to put the comments on the commas. Put the comments on and the media assets. I'm sure we're going to be talking about a new calculator. Andreas, if you have not seen this calculator, go to my YouTube. All of you guys, if you haven't seen this calculator yet, I'm sure we're going to talk about it. That Shaka Vibes built into ptdc-ufo.com. Go check it out. It gonna blow your mind. What does it do? It takes historical liquidity and volume, averages them, so lets you select a high, medium, low, and then you can plug in X's on liquidity. Like PTDC's liquidity right now is like $2 million, $3 million, something like that. It lets you like 10x it or whatever you want. I put it like 100x. So our liquidity looks like it's 330 million. What would the rewards look like based on historical data with at future liquidity values? It's mind numbing. And it really illustrates why we're over here in PTDC in a couple of different ways. You saw it this morning. Cool. Thank you, Pulse Party, for reposting the stream. You do that so faithfully, and I really appreciate it. That's so awesome. I don't even know if you can hear me. It's so cool. I appreciate the sportsmanship, Also had to take a small nibble in PTDC. That's a common theme with you. Let me check my messages because I'm not sure that the space is like supposed to go live at 6:30. I'm checking my clock, make sure I got the right time. And then Zen jumps in. I haven't heard from him really much all day. So, but somebody's buying PTDC right now. I see in the Telegram. That's cool. Has nothing to do with spaces, except for maybe a little bit to do with spaces. Let me see if I might need to text message him. I might need to text a message. Let's see. I got it because I didn't even make the what you call it, the correct thumbnail and stuff. I didn't make one for Monday, so I just made one on the fly, and then I jumped in here and I noticed that nobody's in the spaces. The spaces hasn't started, so I'm just wondering to myself, did I do something wrong? Because I set these up. It would be my responsibility. It would be my doing probably. So here's a message. Having a hard time getting spaces open. You want to start a new one? I think he's going to open up a new one, which doesn't affect you guys at all. Hold on. I'm going to drop the new. I'm live. It's so funny to see myself live. So funny. Here, let me drop this in the main. I'm going to drop this link that you guys on this stream in the main Telegram. So I'm sorry about this. All the distractions. You guys can't see a thing I'm doing. It's kind of funny. You just see me looking all around. Okay. All right, got that set. Zen is probably going to start a new spaces, I imagine. So I'll see that come across. Yeah. Hope you guys are doing good. Whew, what a day, man. Spent probably 2 hours on that new calculator and making the video and everything. And just, you got to strike while the iron's hot, you know? There ain't a whole lot of hot over here on Pulse Chain. So any kind of little excitement, it's like, well, we're just going to make the best of this one. So I dropped whatever it was that I was going to do today and jumped all over that. And because I was so excited about it, like genuinely. Let me log out. I mean, just give me a second. I got to log out. I logged out. Log out. Okay. I logged out. Hold on. I'm always in it. But X may have changed. He was having trouble starting a new Twitter space. And we got multiple people that are in that main account. So I just logged out and hopefully he can get one started. We'll see. So we just got to hold tight. Okay. Let's see. What can I entertain you guys with? Did you guys so one of the things that you can do with that new calculator, I was going to talk about that, is that you can estimate based on your own bag size and the new volume. You can take information. I show you in that video. You can take that information from the one calculator. You take the volume from the one calculator. You got to make sure your time frames are all correct and all that. But you take the volume into the rewards calculator. And just while we're waiting, I'll just show you guys what I'm talking about. So remove this here. I got to get my media asset up here because I always forget. I often forget. Not always. Oh, let me just share a screen. How about that? I'm going to share the entire screen. Okay. So you're in the calculator section. This is the new one, liquidity impact. So I just do 100x. I mean, that would be amazing to do 100x in liquidity, but I think it's going to happen, So what does that do for the volume? Because PTDC is a liquidity and it's a liquidity-based protocol. That's how we earn our rewards, is from the liquidity. I mean, from the volume. So if you know what the volume is, then, you still can't get it. Then you can estimate your rewards. Nuts. All right, just hold tight, guys. How many people are in here? Might have to just do YouTube today. Okay. I'll send you a link. He's going to jump in on YouTube, guys. Cool. This will be fun. Man, this might be God. Yeah. Could be just one of those things where we got this new tool and maybe that's how it's supposed to be. All right. Come in, Hayden. Hayden, come in. Zen. His name is Zen. Oh, this is going to be fun. So Spaces, this Monday, it's all jacked up. From Thailand. Jan, I've been hearing about you. We chatted on YouTube. Good. Just got some more this morning. That's awesome. We should talk about how undervalued UFO is. I wonder if you use that. I think you were on my stream yesterday, but I showed the calculator, the one that, hey, he's here. Yay.
What's up,
Zen,
Anita?
how you doing?
Fine, I guess.
Yeah, I guess. Any idea what happened?
No, I feel like that's happened to us before, where I just can't open it. It like looks like it's open, but no one's joining. Like the background music isn't playing like it usually does while we're like opening it up. I
Okay.
don't know.
Yeah, that's weird.
I think
That is,
last time it just fixed itself in a couple days or in a day or something. So
yeah. And I think there's one other occasion when you just jumped on YouTube and we streamed for a bit.
yeah.
So
I
already,
do want to make a new post, so if you can give me a second,
sure.
just because I just reposted the spaces, but we're not there. So
Okay. Yeah, take your time. I was talking to Jan. So I don't know if you saw this calculator, Jan, but I did talk about it briefly in my stream yesterday, and here it is. It's this one right here. Since you're in that kind of mode, it's the new capital simulator, and hope that the video is on my YouTube right now. I should check. Let me jump over there and check real quick, because I can tell you in just a minute. Give me a second, and I'll tell you if you can watch that video. Yeah, it's video number 10. Video number 10. I'll drop a link in the Telegram, not the Telegram, right here, Jan, in the comments. Here's a link to video number 10. It's the new capital simulator that you're seeing on the screen. And you can plug in a certain dollar amount, like $1,000. And then you can do it all in on one asset or the other, or an even split. And what's cool and insightful about the even split is that you can see where you're getting an equal value initially, but then you add some volume, and you can even use historical volume and add some volume, and you can do a custom one, like pull it over from the liquidity impact calculator. And then you can also decide what you're going to do with it in advance and see what kind of yield you're going to earn. It's super cool. Very super cool. So I'm going to tell you guys, we've got some tools over here in the Grays currencies that I'm going to tell you, I never even thought we'd have these kind of tools. I thought we'd get close, but not on the level that we got them. When I first came in, we didn't have anything, nothing. And I knew we needed it. Just like when a lot of us, when we came into Hex, we're like, there's metrics all over the place and charts and this and that. It was really cool. And then, but when we came in over into the Grays, there was nothing when we started, but now there is. And it's way more than I ever pictured. And all of it's free. There's only one site that nobody even uses anymore that has some valuable stuff on it, which is look into ptdc.com. And that is a paid for site, or it used to be something like that. But everything is free. It's stinking cool. And it's colorful. Right, Zen?
yeah, I'm back. Yeah, I was thinking about that today. Last time we had a little bit of an alt season within cryptocurrency, pretty much right before Trump came into office. We had none of the things that we have now. We didn't have the referral system. We didn't have these sweet stats websites and dashboards and calculators and charts and you name it, we have it now. And then also, we didn't have the distribution we have now. We didn't have Pulse Chain at all-time low prices, which obviously if Pulse Chain just goes back to some of the levels it's been before, those are way more X's than we did last cycle, for PTDC with, 403 to 409 or 408 is only like a 3X. That's like what it did before. Yep. But 508 to 408, that's a 10X. You know what I mean? So just so much more potential going into this next run up at slightly higher market caps. Not even a crazy amount higher market caps, but a little bit higher market caps. But obviously that's from buy and burns, LP ads, like just everything we've been doing. I just have such a good feeling about this next alt season. And really, we don't even need alt season. We're kind of showing right now that like really the markets can just be flat and we'll keep moving upwards. But obviously, like when the bull market does come, we're going to be so set up.
Yeah. I think it was last summer when you and I were talking about, that was like, hey man, we got to have some charts and graphs and stuff for, the suits that we're after, the men that, are in maybe TradFi and they're used to seeing different charts and things. And so we got some of that going, and then it all just snowballed and we have so much more now to illustrate our ecosystem. And a lot of it's like now is like live data. It might be at most 24 hours old, but it's like fresh, raw, live, colorful, well formatted, organized data that we can use to illustrate our ecosystem.
So it kind of worked out that we had to go on YouTube today because I really wanted to talk about that new calculator Chaka put out.
You're not the only one. Yeah, man. Let's see. I don't need to. Oh, I don't need my phone here anymore. So I can, let me just rearrange my office real quick. Okay. I guess we could have tried spaces from my account. I don't know how that would have, I don't know if that would have worked. I think there's a reason we do it from the main account or something. But either way, let's just go with it, man.
I'm happy to be on YouTube sometimes. Then I get the visuals too.
You what?
I get the visuals then also.
Yeah, there you go.
I don't get the visuals.
Yeah.
Everyone.
I'll try to give you some visuals to look at besides the prairie banana. I do want to talk about. I spent probably a couple hours on that calculator today. As soon as I dug into it, I was like, "Whoa, baby!" and I want to talk about like how we get up to those liquidity values. But it hit me at about 5:00 this evening that this calculator that we're talking about, guys, which is the liquidity impact calculator on ptdc-ufo.com. You guys can go see it and play around with it yourself. And I also recorded a video. It's on my X and my YouTube that walks you through it. So, but I realized that it perfectly illustrates something that you have said quite often in the past, but maybe not so much recently, that as our LP grows, more value will have to flow through our pools. It'll almost be forced to flow through our pools, and that's going to pay more rewards to our holders. It hit me tonight. I was like, yeah, man. And now we don't just have to speculate. We have evidence that
yeah,
is.
So that's what's interesting about this calculator, right? Is it's not just a calculator, it's a data center. So right now we're not able to pick up what previous liquidities were at volumes because none of the APIs store that information. It's just unstored information. So we, for the last month and from now on, we're going to be storing this information. So it's not only a data center for us to learn, and we have a pretty good idea. We've always said in the past, we feel like as our liquidity grows, our volume will grow somewhat evenly. And we've been watching it. We can think back to our all-time highs of price, and I think I remember PTDC's liquidity being around 20 million, right? And from right now, that's like a 8x or something like that. And then you look back at our volume at those times, and we're like, yeah, we're producing 500K a day on the regular. So all the
Uh-huh.
information is checking out. This
Yep.
is just going to document it pretty much and give us those data points and give us those averages. And
Yep.
then as we document more of this information for longer periods of time with more up and down swings, we can actually make really educated guesses on where this volume could get in the future with us increasing the liquidity. And then you
Let me,
brought up there's multiple ways we can increase liquidity. It's not just one. It's not just adding liquidity, which we do with every single transaction, but there's other ways we can add liquidity as well.
let me interject something in here because I want to add some credibility to what we're seeing in this calculator. I have my own data set. Mine is all manual, and I had discovered the same thing that we're going to see in this calculator, in that liquidity and volume almost track. Yet, as you're going to see, the volume exceeds the liquidity a little bit by about 10%. But
Yeah,
so
on
it's not just
PTD
shocking this
UFOs.
calculator. I've discovered it too.
Yeah, UFO I think is tracking a little low right now.
Yep.
We gotta, as a community, we gotta pick up the UFO human interaction volume. I think a little bit. Mechanically, it's doing just fine.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think we need to bring some attention over to UFO, not only because it helps PTDC, but also because, dude, I think the opportunity is just so crazy with UFO. The fact that it has so much liquidity compared to its market cap, and it's also pays you APY for holding, also deflationary, and also very much connected to PTDC.
Absolutely. Very undervalued. Hey, Jan just bought some more UFO this morning. And I'm pretty sure Jan is an onboard for, you can correct me if I'm wrong, Jan, but I think he or she came in from Crypto Neptune's, the stream with Neptune last week.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, Crypto Neptune had a community I could tell that was a lot more diverse than, a standard pulse chain influencer, because he did talk about a lot of different ecosystems. So I was hoping that we were able to educate some other, other users or new users on what we have here.
Yep. So did you watch the video that I made earlier today about this calculator?
Yes, I believe I did.
You did. Okay. Okay. So at the beginning of the video, I jumped down here to the bottom and I explained where, we're getting the information from. And we don't even have three. Do we have 3 solid weeks? Yeah, we had 3 solid weeks and 2 partials weeks of data that we're getting these averages from to support the calculations above here, which is really cool. And this data set will constantly change over time. It's going to be most volatile in the earliest weeks, but it'll smooth out, and it'll be interesting to see where we settle. Like this 0.2537, I think that's the highest liquidity to volume. And then this is the average. The average is of these gray ones right here. So yeah, man, what do you want to talk about on this thing?
Mainly I wanted to just create a few simulations up above, with increasing the volume, etc. But also wanted to touch base on the history that we have to date. Like you said, Banana, you've been tracking this already. You've been documenting what our volume levels have been at and also what our liquidity levels have been at. And I've been taking more mental notes. And what we've all found is, this liquidity, when our liquidity rises, that our volume increases somewhat evenly. And I wanted, before we do the calculations, I wanted to talk about how do we increase our liquidity, right? There's 3 ways that we can increase our liquidity that I can think of, with PTGC and UFO. And one of the easiest ones is just liquidity ads, right? That's one thing we're focusing on with PTGC, is not just price appreciation, but also having the most liquid token on chain. Trying to even catch up there to Richard's tokens as well. And the code does this automatically, right? We have every single transaction it's adding to the liquidity, but also the DAO is focusing on finding good pairs or building up pairs, etc., to increase the liquidity as well. So that's the first one. And then the second one is people buying PTGC or UFO,
Yep.
right? If someone buys PTGC or buys UFO, they are putting whatever token they're swapping for PTGC and UFO into our liquidity, right? So if they're coming in with ETH, we have a heavy focus with onboarding IRL people or people from other blockchains. Let's say a new user comes in, they had some ETH, they hop over the bridge and they're like, hey, I want some PTGC. Well, they'll probably, let's say they got referred. They want to actually, they got in through Banana and they're going through the referral system. Well, the first thing he would have to do is swap that ETH for PLS, because through the referral system you have to have PLS, and then they'd hop over to our website and they buy PTDC with that PLS. Well, what happens? That PLS gets injected into our liquidity and they get some PTDC out. That's, their swap that they're pulling off. So that's
Right.
another way to increase liquidity. It's just us onboarding. Every time we onboard, we're actually increasing our liquidity, and that value is put to work. So every user that comes in that gets PTDC, they're taking PTDC out of liquidity. They're putting other assets into our liquidity web, and then those tokens actually are working for all of us. And it's not only working for all of us as far as rewards, but it's also working for us for buy and burns and more liquidity, all the automatic features within the protocol. The more value we have working for us, the more value we make ultimately. And then the third is from the appreciation of the tokens that we are tied to. So that's, one thing we talk about all the time is PTDC has a lot of power. It has the ability to do a crazy amount of X's very, very easily, not only because of its own structure, but because it's tied to very illiquid tokens that are very, very discounted right now. So if any
Yeah.
of those tokens actually start working with us instead of against us, lately they've been working against us, hence why our liquidity is so thin. The liquidity being thin, I think, is an opportunity. It's definitely made it harder for us to generate value, but it's making it easier for us to pump later on, especially as we onboard people at these low levels. But once the things we're tied to, which I do think that time is coming, start moving up with us instead of against us, it's going to increase our liquidity rapidly. So we have three ways that we can actually increase our liquidity. The easiest things we're bonding to, just going up. You can get your liquidity up really, really quick that way, but that doesn't mean we're not going to keep onboarding and not doing LP ads like our code is designed to do automatically.
Right. Yeah, we can't even stop the LP ads.
Yeah,
At
you're
least
stopping it.
Yeah, except for the ones the DAO does, of course. But yeah, there's no stopping the ones built into the code. And I remember you saying that you said something like, because when I was digging it up about the volume and liquidity tracking each other, you had done your own like research and discovered the same thing. So it's almost like we got three data heads here that have come to the same conclusion. Just one of them managed to put it into a website so everybody can play around with it and do some forecasting and have fun.
Yeah, and one thing I kind of let's plug in some numbers. We can plug in some modest numbers, and then we can plug in some nicer numbers that we hope out of PTDC and Pulse Chain, which is always fun.
Yeah.
And personally, I like using the median. Do you see that one? The
Yep.
median week.
Yep.
Those
That's
are
what I've been.
yeah, and pretty much what that is, it's just almost like an average. It's just the middle of all the data points that we've collected.
Yep.
Shaka says from his professional experience, he believes this is actually better than average. He believes this gets you a good middle ground. And obviously, what we're experiencing is the average already, because that is what we generate. We generate pretty much the value of every single week. What we're getting is the average between them all. So I personally think that's the best one to use.
Yep. And again, guys, the average and the median and all that comes from this weekly history that that this site is pulling off the blockchain, and it's the liquidity to volume ratios, which is interesting too. As a side note, this term, I've only been familiar with it for the last few months. This liquidity to volume ratio. I mean, maybe back in December, something like that is the first time I heard it, and it has been a thing. But
Yes, knowing how much liquidity we have and the quantity of volume that we could produce from it is just such good information. Not only like the average between our entire liquidity and the volume, but it's also good to look at individual pairs, right? Because we want to know which pools are actually the best ones for us to add to, with taking into a lot of different things. We want to take into consideration what they're generating for us and their actual price appreciation. Like, we could generate a ton of money off of a token dumping, but obviously that's not the best case scenario. We want both. We want price appreciation and volume out of those pairs.
Yep. And we can see those liquidity pairs on one of the other tabs. I think it's the dashboard. Yeah, on the dashboard, you can go and look at the liquidity and sort by liquidity to market cap ratio. And almost always at the top is going to be the WPLS pair. That's almost the best ratio every single time, which is great because our contract makes it adds to that LP with every single transaction.
Yeah, and that's the one people are swapping in and out of. That's why that one usually always wins. You know what the second best has been recently?
ProveX.
On a little bit longer of a time frame.
Oh,
yeah, definitely ProveX in the short term. More like if you take into the average for the last 90 days.
Huh. No, I don't. You got me.
ETH.
Oh. Okay. And you like that, don't you? I can tell.
Speculated on, but now since Shock has built all these pools, we actually have the real data.
Yeah.
ETH has been one of our best volume centers for PTDC because it's not correlated to everything else.
Dude, doesn't it? I mean, I was like, when I realized about that ratio, I was like, we need to know that ratio because, when you're taking DAO funds and putting it into LPs, it helps to know which one's being the most productive.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yo, now we got it. And everybody can see it. Everybody can see it on this website. It's awesome.
Yeah. So, going back to like what numbers we could throw in there, there's tons of different scenarios that can play out. Pulse chain could move up 10x, and people could also be buying PTDC, which could make us do more X's over Pulse chain. When Pulse chain moves up, the liquidity actually moves up very evenly, depending on what all of our other pairs do. But let's say they all move up evenly with Pulse. Well, with no buys and sells on PTDC, our liquidity would move up evenly. It's pretty basic. Well, when you naturally, let's say we get some buys, well, our price will appreciate more and start going up faster than our liquidity, but at still a pretty decent rate. I've found more like 40% from some of the things I've ran. I don't know if that's exact, but so for an example, if we got a 10x from Pulse Chain and we did a 10x over Pulse Chain, that would be 100x in price, but more like a 40x in liquidity, if that makes sense.
Wow. Okay.
And that doesn't take into consideration LP ads and stuff like that, which obviously is a big focus as well. But so, and who knows if that's how we get our X's? We might get a 12x from Pulse Chain and an 8x from PTGC's price, or maybe we do way more, or maybe we do a little bit less. So it's really hard to know exactly how the future will play out, but we can just do fun speculations of, hey, we think in the future, we can go from what our liquidity here is today to, let's say, 20x our liquidity or 40x our liquidity when things are really cooking. Or maybe we want to tone it down a little bit, or maybe we want to see, well, I think after a cycle or two, we can get this thing up 60x our liquidity, right? And we can see what kind of numbers those could produce. And then after we kind of look at some of those numbers and we pick one that's fun to work with, I want to look at like the value generation that we get off of that, right? Because then you can take that value generation and you can be like, okay, well, I'm a shark. Well, how much am I going to be earning then, right?
Yep. So while you're talking, just for the audience, I flipped over to the dashboard so we could see the liquidity to volume ratio charts, and I sorted it. And PTDC wheat is at the top, followed by DI, Atropa, and then PLS. So WPLS has been exceeded by 3 other assets today. It's pretty unusual.
Oh wow, yeah, that is odd. But there you go. You see ETH doing its thing today.
Yeah, and Andreas Caden made a plug for the PTDC wheat LP. He'd like to see more of that. Just FYI.
Yeah, we've
Andres,
just started building it up, and we had it, we used some of it to buy the dip, and then we're building it up again after we've noticed how good of a value generation source. A lot of people have also liked just that it's such a legacy token. You know what I mean? Like we know WETH is going to be here. You know, in someone's portfolio, they obviously have more speculative things like the RH ecosystem, PTDC, UFO, smaller market cap tokens, but they also like having a little bit of ties to the biggest dogs in the game. And that's definitely one of my focuses as well going into the future. Not only focus on the more speculative plays, but also making sure that our protocol has those massive LP pairs with legacy tokens as well.
Yeah, man. I'm liking the mix I'm seeing on the dashboard today. That's pretty sweet. Well, let's go back to calculators. What do you think we should put in there for an LP?
Let's do a 20x.
Okay.
So a 20x, like where I think we could get a 20x to our liquidity from. Again, these numbers aren't perfect, but like, let's say we got a 10x from here on Pulse Chain and like a 5x against Pulse Chain, right? That could be roughly, so for us, that would be a 50x in price, but a 20x in liquidity, right? Because we got some X's from the blockchain moving up, and we got some X's from people buying the PTDC token as well.
Okay, so we got a 50x in price, but a 20x in liquidity. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, I was just kind of explaining to everyone like where we might get a 20x in liquidity from. Like where PTDC might end up is it might end up at like a 50x in liquidity, or sorry, in price, if we did a 10x on Pulse Chain and then a 5x of an X multiplier of PTDC moving up against Pulse Chain. And roughly, I think that would get us to close to a 20x in liquidity.
Okay.
Because you're going to get the legit 10x from Pulse Chain, and that raises liquidity evenly. When you get X's from the assets you're paired to, your liquidity moves up evenly. So if Pulse Chain went up 10x and we did no X's against Pulse Chain, our ratio stayed the same. We stayed at this like 16.5, but Pulse Chain went up 10x, our liquidity would go up 10x. But if we did a 5x against Pulse Chain, so we went from 16 all the way to, whatever that would be at 75 or something like that. I don't know. I'm doing some air math, but so we'd end up like close to 75 to 1 or whatever it is. That would be a 5x against Pulse Chain, but we're not getting an additional full 5x to the liquidity because that's not how actual buys work with liquidity. You get more like 40% of that. So what I'm saying is, if we got a 50x from that scenario, we could see roughly a 20x to liquidity. Math
Okay.
isn't perfect, but just trying to illustrate how this could work out with some scenarios.
Okay. Fair enough. So we've got a 20x in liquidity, which is a 1900%, which increases the volume by about 22x or 2181%. And I don't know how he figures in UFO, but somehow
he's pulling the same information from UFO as PTDC. UFOs right now is not increasing the same as PTDC. PTDC is actually, as prices increased, volume was actually increasing a little bit more. With UFO, it was actually increasing a little bit less. That's the real data.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, UFO's got some growth to do, but I think it's gonna surprise
and that's where I was
everybody.
getting at. Is I think arbitrage wise, they're doing pretty similar. UFO needs a little bit more to trigger because of the one extra fee. So that could be a small part of that. The trigger needs a little bit larger of a threshold. And also the human interaction with UFO is obviously lower. That's kind of why at the beginning I was kind of giving that hint, like, hey guys, like UFO success helps PTDC. If you don't got your bag of UFO, you can get a lot of tokens for very cheap. I'm not saying sell PTDC for it. That is not where I'm getting at all. Maybe look at your wallet. UFO is super cheap. You can scrape some tokens that you don't think are coming back, or maybe you got stables or whatever. Take a look at UFO at these prices. It's under a 5 mil market cap.
Yep. UFO, I mean, PTDC seems to have all the moving parts. It gets all the limelight, the glory, and all that stuff. It was first to the market. But I think at some point, UFO is going to force its way into the narrative. And it has in the past, too. It's been much more of a topic of a conversation in the past. So, and yet now, I agree with you. The prices on this token are very, very tempting. It's in a buy zone. Very undervalued.
So what this is showing us is what a 20x to liquidity does to each of their volumes.
Yep.
So you would get a 22x to the volume of PTDC and roughly a 17x to the volume of UFO.
Yeah.
Based on the history we have to date, obviously we're going to keep gathering information as time goes on.
Yeah, and I'm going to tell you, man, with the volume that we've got recently at the bottom of this chain, like the data points they're going to be much more smoothed out when the machine is in full run. But right now the data points they can be all over the place because everything's, you know what I'm saying? Like when something's not running really hot and fast, things just kind of get all a little loose. I don't know if I'm explaining myself very well, but once it gets going, our data points will be a lot more fine-tuned. I believe that. All right, so we got a 20x in liquidity and the impact on each of these tokens. Then we have selected a median value generation frame down here. What else do you want to set up in this thing to explain?
Let's do 30-day. So go to the right, take it off the 7-day, turn it to 30-day. A month. I like working with a month personally.
Me too.
Just because people's bills come monthly, and if you plan on using PTDC as a passive income source, I think it's kind of cool to track it more in a monthly time frame, just because that's how bills show up to your house.
Yeah, that's how it works. Okay, so let me get this off here. We're on a monthly, and now we'll scroll down and we can see the value generated. Wow, that'd be $2 million in value generated, and with the value we're talking about is from the 5% fee. So the volume is going to be $41.46 million in volume for that month, and then the value $2 million is from the 5% fee, and then down here, as you can see where it's all going to be split up the 5%? Where is it sent? All these 5 different spots.
Yeah, and this is kind of what I like looking at. Like, okay, if I'm a holder, and let's say I'm a shark, right? A shark is 1 or 1,000th, pretty much, of the supply to an extent, right? A whale is 1%.
Yes.
So you could take what that is generating monthly, which is for staking 414, for holding 414, and this isn't exact math. You can actually plug this into a calculator as well.
Yeah.
Which I think it does show the volume, which that might be the best way to do it.
You can plug it into the rewards calculator.
Yeah, because we know with this information. So here, we'll go back to that. I want to do that next. I'm looking at my phone, but what I wanted to highlight first is, okay, what we can see is PTGC is generating $2 million a month, and UFO is generating 778,000. Sweet thing about UFO is every single month at this level, we would be generating $129,000 of buy and burns, not only for just UFO, but also for PTGC as well.
Right.
So,
yep.
Guys, that's, if we can get our liquidity levels to those levels, which comes from price appreciation, ads, and onboarding, right? Price appreciation of RH cores and other things we're tied to, price appreciation of PTGC and liquidity ads, we can get there. Like, we're a strong community. It will take time, but I believe we can get to these numbers. You'll have UFO possibly buying and burning 129K a day or a month of PTGC. That's big. That's just what UFO is doing. And that's what I mean. It's like, hey, right now at these cheap prices, you're not fighting again. Like, there's a very scarce supply, but Pulsion has dragged the prices down so low, you're not fighting yet for that remaining supply. But very soon, and we could see it very quickly, the remaining supply could start getting eaten up very quickly because of these buy and burns turning on more hyperly, and those positions could be a lot more, like as price of pulse chain moves up, etc. So, look at what the opportunity we see right now, these cheap prices on chain, as an opportunity to onboard DCA if you haven't, because the demand for these tokens will come. There's no one on Pulse Chain right now. The code is kind of slowed down at the moment because liquidity is low. But if this liquidity keeps grinding, the demand for these things will become very high. Not only from users, but also from the machines.
Yeah, the arbitrage bots.
And so from looking at this, we have 129K a month in UFO buy and burns and PTGC buy and burns from UFO. We have 207K from PTGC buying and burning itself. And then the DAO has $829,000 to do whatever the DAO does. You know what I mean? If that's LP ads, buy and burns, rewards for people onboarding. But that's a lot of value to put demand on the chart.
We could burn $1 million in tokens, because this right between PTDC and UFO is 340,000. Then you got 830 over here. You could take more than half of that, and then you could burn $1 million worth of tokens in 1 month at this volume, at this LP, whatever, LP level.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Mm-hmm. And that doesn't even include, users buying and stuff like that. So, and you think about that happening on a yearly basis, and the kind of community that we're building here, like the people we're onboarding, the education, the long-term belief, the sustainability, like if people actually, like, as we keep distributing, like, not saying anyone that's in the system at this point is weak-handed, you've been a while, the people are tapping out, but our community is becoming very strong with the mixture of crypto experts alongside some IRL people who just, this is their only exposure to crypto, but they're going to be excited when price starts going up. And it's going to be super powerful because most cryptocurrencies don't have that $1 million of demand every single month that either is going to push the price up or it's going to buy weaker hands out. It's that simple. Yep. We just have to get the liquidity and volume to those levels with everything we've been talking about.
Yep. It'll happen. especially when pulse chain turns around and the machine starts running. It's better hang on.
Yeah. So we've already, gotten to the point of 10x these levels, right? Our average right now is like 70,000. Like we were having, I think at our all-time high is a consistent 500K um, volume on a daily basis. 500K,
Yeah.
some higher days, some
Yep.
lowers, but on average on those all-time highs, that's what we were doing. Guys, that was barely above half of sacrifice price.
Yeah.
Like
I know.
I believe this stuff is written um, written in stone for us. It's just taking time, it's taking energy, and I believe we can get to these levels, especially with how strong our community is getting.
Yep. I want to interject an answer to Andreas Caden's question. He asked, when it comes to UFO LP, do the UFO shares determine your pulse rewards? Yes. And those UFO shares, Andreas, they're like a bookmark. They're equivalent to how much the UFO share is equivalent to how much UFO you put into that LP. And so if, say, for example, you put 100 million UFO into an LP, you will be assigned 100 million UFO shares that will not change. And those shares determine your pulse rewards. And as long as you keep that LP in place, your UFO share rate will never change. That's how it works.
Yep. Those UFO shares are how you earn. Those if you increase your UFO shares by adding the LP, or if you decrease your UFO shares by selling some LP, that pretty much judges the PLS that you're earning.
Yeah. And then for guys that are, and this is a pro tip, if you are LPing UFO, keep an eye on the paired asset, because if that paired asset makes a run up against UFO, you might have an opportunity to increase your UFO share by unpairing and repairing just for the cost of gas. You just got to keep an eye on that LP. And if you have more UFO in that LP than there are UFO shares, then you can do that. And he asked another question. Does all the LPs give the same share percent? Yes. It's apples to apples. There's no tier system or anything like that.
That's a good question, right? So in a standard farm, you are getting more paid based on what that specific liquidity pair creates. So if you go in a more volume based pair, something that has more volume, you'll earn more if you had the same shares compared to a pair that has low volume in the shares. With UFO system, it doesn't matter which liquidity pair you go in. It's all about your shares. It doesn't even matter if you're in the pair that produces barely any volume and other people are in this other pair that produce more volume. You would earn the same as them if you have the same UFO shares as them.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what pair you're in; they're all going to they all reward the same. The only difference is the standard PulseX fees earned on the back end; those will vary between the pairs.
Yeah, and the PTDC pair, you pay a fee both ways, in and out. So keep that in mind. The APY that you receive from that is really hard to make back to the fees you eat going in and out. And keep in mind,
long time.
You earn APY from holding PTDC and staking PTDC, and you earn APY for just holding UFO. So don't feel like if those are the only two tokens in your wallet, you have to go and do that just to earn an APY. You can just keep them in your wallet and earn an APY. You don't have to put them at impermanent loss risk or anything. I think everyone should really consider before pairing PTDC and UFO together personally. Everyone do whatever you want, but that one for me doesn't make sense. It's there, but it doesn't make sense. Also, PLS and UFO on the way out, you will pay the UFO fee on the way out, only one direction.
Yep.
If you never close it down, you never pay the fee.
I once built a little spreadsheet about the PTDC and UFO LP, and it was crystal clear to me. There's no way I'm LP in those two tokens. No, because the ROI time was like decades or something like that.
Well, especially when you take into consideration that you're earning APY already.
Yeah, that's true.
You don't need the LPM. You just that's what's so sweet about PTDC and UFO. most people, especially if they have a token that's gone up drastically. I'll use Ethereum holders for an example. They're up thousands of X's. So they're holding 1,000X of something they believe is the best store of value.
Do you get a phone call?
But they want more. What will they do? They'll go into lending protocols, or they'll go into LP providing, and anything they're doing is actually putting that asset at risk for an APY from that asset. PTGC has this built into the code. You actually never need to risk your asset to earn an APY off of it, because you're earning your APY off of the value you put in at the beginning to get those tokens in your wallet. That's the value working for you, and you get the share of that.
Andres asked, if I put $1,000 into the ETH pair and also the PLS pair, will both give me the same amount of UFO shares? We don't have an ETH pair in the UFO system. You got to make sure that you pair up on the D app, Go PTDC, and not just on PulseX. Otherwise, you'll forego the UFO shares and the rewards. And we don't have an ETH pair.
Yeah, maybe say that again, just so it's clear, Banana.
Make sure when you do pair up your UFO with an RH ticker, do it on goptgc.com, the main DApp. If you try to do it on you can do it on PulseX, but you're not going to earn any UFO shares. You're not going to earn any Pulse rewards. You're just going to have an LP. So, and we don't have an ETH pair. We have Hex, Pulse, PulseX, Inc, PDI, and the other Hex. Maybe I missed something, but just the main core assets.
Yeah, that's the point. So, yeah, if you want to earn the PLS rewards, you have to use the farm. And the only way you can access the farm is through our sites. You can go to pulsetgc.com or goptgc.com. Those are the only two sites that have the farm built into it.
Okay, this is a good question. This next question is a good question from him. I've never heard this one. He actually meant Hex. So he says, if I put $1,000 into the Hex pair and also the PLS pair, will both give me the same amount of UFO shares? Yes. If you put 100 million UFO in each, you'll have 100 million UFO shares in each of those pairs.
Correct. Yep.
There you go, man.
Yeah. Not saying 100 million UFO shares are exactly the other side of $1,000, but
right.
What the point is, you're putting up even amounts of UFO backing the price of, or the other side of the LP. If you put even amounts of UFO in each pair, you're going to be earning evenly off of those.
Yes. Good questions. That was a really good. I'd never heard that question before.
And these are some good times to get UFO shares, guys. Like when price starts moving up, doesn't make a lot of sense to get UFO shares, but at these cheap prices of where you're getting cheap UFO and cheap RH ticker, it makes a lot of sense to get UFO shares because UFO shares are really cheap.
Yeah, they are.
And then obviously when Pulse and UFO start going up again, the price to get those same UFO shares get more expensive. 100 million UFO shares now could cost, $2,000 when you do $1,000 of UFO, $1,000 of Hex. That costs you $2,000 to technically get those UFO shares. Well, if Hex 10x's and UFO 10x's, well, look, now you're not spending $2,000, you're spending $20,000 for those same UFO shares.
Yeah.
So it's producing you the same amount of APY, the same amount of PLS rewards, but it costs you $20,000 instead of $2,000. Not saying he's going to do that. I'm just saying that's where there's opportunity about being early into these systems. Is someone down the line, once we've done those X's, they're going to want to get PLS rewards. Well, to get the same amount of PLS rewards as you, who locked in the UFO share rates early, they're going to have to pay 10 times the amount of money. Just the sad thing about how these systems work is price moves up and you have to pay more for the same amount as early people.
Yeah. Okay.
But the cool thing for the early people is then for those users to get the same amount of UFO shares as you, they have to put 10 times the amount of value in. And then there's 10, you guys are earning the same amount, but 10 times more value is working for the both of you from the other guy.
Huh. Yep.
So for an
Wow.
example, if if your $2,000 can produce, your 100 UFO share rates, let's say $100 a week, and time goes on, and then someone comes in, wants those same UFO shares, and they put in $20,000, well, that means that $20,000 technically should be producing 10 times the more volume, right? But
Yeah.
you have the same amount of PLS rewards. So as time goes on, these other people that contribute or these other people that buy, they're going to help increase your daily rewards because they're having to put way more liquidity in the system than you had to.
Oh wow. Okay. I'm gonna have to think about that one. I've heard that explained a dozen times already. I still gotta go re-listen to it. It's fine. I will. It's all right. It just yeah, it just underscores how valuable those UFO shares are, which I try to emphasize to everybody as much as I can. But you guys just heard it. Stinking get your
And just
UFO shares,
holding,
man.
right? Like you get to reap those benefits from holding too. As time goes on, like if you scoop up a bunch of UFO at these prices under 5 million, like again, I think that's really, really cheap. I did an experiment. It's still going live. I haven't looked at it in a while just because prices haven't been super awesome. Where I have a 30K to hopefully 1 mil. That's the goal of the journey wallet. And I did that purchase around a 2 million market cap, I think, on UFO. This was a few months after launch, just because I'm just like, dude, this 2 mil market cap is
Yeah.
such a steal. Like I want to show how much of a steal this is in real time. Still up on the UFO, very, very heavily down on all the RH tickers because I bonded the two together in LP. But my point is I'm holding UFO in that wallet too. It's not only showing the value of LPing, but also showing the value of just holding. Like, as price goes up, liquidity grows and grows and grows and grows. The value of your tokens grow as well, which feels good. But what those tokens can produce, that quantity of tokens that you have in your wallet that you locked in at these cheap prices, what they are producing for you now is by far different of what they can produce for you in the future. By far different. It's the equivalent of someone in ETH who had ETH at, let's say $20. And they say, I'm going to LP provide with this $20, um, you know, or let's say they had $1,000, $20 a token. So they have quite a few ETH in there. Let's say there's like 20 ETH in there or whatever. And as at those low prices, when it's only $1,000 of ETH, that's only so much that ETH can generate you. But when your $1,000 of ETH turns into $100,000 of ETH or $1 million of ETH, well, what that ETH can now produce you as far as an APY is by far different because it's so much more capital generating for you. And that's the power of just getting in early and hodling. Hold on. There's so many shiny objects in this industry. Find the right ones, hodl the right ones, especially when the tokenomics are in your favor that are literally paying you to hodl and are deleting tokens behind you every single day.
Yeah, man.
Um, it's powerful, and you have to hold on to make it powerful. But I believe this will be powerful in the future. I believe Pulse Chain will be successful, and I think we'll be successful right along with it.
Yeah. All right. Shall we go back to the calculator?
Yes.
Let's do that. Okay. So we were at 20x on LP. Oh, I gotta get back on track here, which increased the volume, the PTDC volume by 2,181%, and then UFO's volume by 1,630%. And what that did for just a median week is it projected it would make the weekly volume $9.58 million or increase it by 2,181%. And then over on UFO, it would have increased the volume to $3 million just on a median week. And we're in crypto, so it's volatile. So you can have median weeks, you can have a strong week or an over the top week, which is more than double. Is it more than double? It's close. Then more than almost double the median week.
Yeah. Yeah. It's every day, every week. It's not going to do the same. It
Yeah.
depends. Like you can have so much liquidity. Some weeks are going to fire off super hard because of the volatility on the chain and human interaction. What we're kind of gathering is just averages. That's all we can do is just take the averages of what we're producing and use those averages to come up with the best hypothesis of what this could do for us in the future. You know what I mean? With real data.
Yep. Is there any more that you want to explain on this calculator page?
So I did want to take that the median weekly volume.
Yep.
And I wanted to take that over to the rewards calculator. So let's just use 10 million just because it's an easy number a week.
Okay.
Right.
So let's recap real quick for the audience, because what we're going to do is we're going to illustrate what, the holders can earn at this volume level. So this would be based on a 20x of LP. So the LP would go from like, what is it, like 2 million, 3 million today and times 20. So that would make the volume about $10 million. And that's based on historical data that you can see down below in this calculator if you want to scooch down there. And then we'll go to the rewards calculator, which is going to show based on volume and a certain token amount, how much you would earn in rewards. Did I say that all correctly?
Yeah.
Okay. How much? So we got our volume of $10 million. Let's just plug that in right from the go.
Oh, yeah. No, that's daily volume. I think it actually gave us daily volume on that previous page. Maybe that was better.
I think it erases that's all right. It erases it. That's right. And when you're doing this, when you're playing around, you do need to be careful of your days.
Yeah. So it's actually the
9.56 divided by 7 would be 1.366.
Okay. Yeah.
So we'll do 1366. So 1. Yeah. And we've already seen $2 million in volume, Zen, on PTDC.
Yes, we have. Yeah, these numbers that we're illustrating
this is modest.
Are not numbers we haven't seen before.
Yeah. Okay. This is modest, but yeah, let's do it. What do you want to put in for a holding amount? You want to do a dolphin, a shark? A shark could be 290 million.
Let's do it. Let's do a shark. I think for people who have shark positions or a little under shark positions, these are people who are definitely eyeballing these APY things.
Yeah. Okay, so we got a shark position, and I think, well, if I had that many tokens, they'd be staked. So I'm just going to stake them, and we got a lot of stakers in the audience, so we're just going to stake them all, and then we're going to see the selected time span over a month. So
yeah, I believe if you're someone in it for the APY, you need to really consider staking. It's going to boost your APY by roughly 150%. It's very worth it if you're a long-term player in the system. Yeah.
So the total monthly reward would be $963. 13.7% APY. And that's the combined reflections and staking rewards. And you can see they're broken out down here. $410 in holding rewards, $552 in staking rewards.
Yeah, so you'd be earning roughly $1,000 a month.
Yep.
Which you're close to $10,000 a year passively, and you wouldn't have to. If you were to sell these, you would be able to sell $10,000 of PTDC a year and never even touch your principal. So your principal can continue to grow. You can continue to get price appreciation from your original tokens and continue to have those pay you.
Yep. And that principal is always going to be moving up against the circulating supply, because circulating supply is always diminishing. So you're always going to be every single day, you're going to be earning more APY. let alone year to year. I mean, you can, like, if you, for example, the people that came in to PTDC at the very beginning to and held on until today are earning 13% more APY. 13%. Just because the system has burned 13% of the supply.
Yeah.
Right?
Speaking of that, UFO is about to tick over its 9%. You see that, Banana?
No, I didn't see that.
We're so close.
Let's go to the dashboard and we'll have a look at that. So that scenario, just to recap, was based on 20x of the LP. Okay. Oh yeah. It's at 99.3%. Well, that'll happen quickly at these levels.
Yeah, I'd say a couple days we'll be there.
Yeah.
And we need to then work our way to 10%. And then Banana's throwing a party.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that was a fun exercise. My scenario was a little more aggressive. I just went to the 100x, man.
Hey, I don't think it's not possible. I was planning on going through 2 more aggressive scenarios as well.
Oh yeah,
but
let's do it.
We definitely took some time going through the.
Oh, I see. Well, we could do another one.
Yeah, let's do 100x also. And again, guys, like how 100x is possible is a bunch of different ways. We're doing constant LP ads with every single transaction. We're moving up against Pulse Chain. And then obviously one day we hope Pulse Chain is going to be successful. For Pulse Chain to do a 100x, that's 10x sacrifice price. We were only a 5x away from that just a couple of years ago. So these do seem crazy, but we are so cheap at these levels that they are possible. Obviously, if Pulse Chain is doing 100x, I think PTGC is obviously doing x's over it, which then we are getting even more liquidity than even just 100x. How this could come about is maybe Pulse Chain pulls off a 50x, right? And then maybe PTGC does a 10x against Pulse Chain. The cool thing about that is you're pulling off a 500x in PTGC in that scenario.
Yeah.
Right. But, maybe only 100x in liquidity.
Okay. All right. So I want to draw a highlighter too. If you guys didn't see this, if we didn't emphasize it enough at the beginning, but see that liquidity change in this scenario is 100x, but the volume is 113x. So the volume is increasing faster than the liquidity. And this is something that Zen has seen early on. And then I noticed them with my own records. And then we're seeing it here with math in this calculator. It's a tantalizing thought to think about that the volume is exceeding the liquidity. And what that means is, so not only are we earning more because of our position increasing, because relative to the circulating supply, we're also going to be earning more. If this all works out the way it has, we're also going to be earning more because volume will kind of always be increasing. I probably overstated that a little bit. It should be increasing relative to the liquidity. And if liquidity is always going to be added to on that WPLS pair, so volume has to almost always increase, theoretically. Does that make sense?
There will be slower months and higher months. There always has been, but I personally think from these levels, Banana, it's only higher. We're at all-time lows of volume on the chain. We're at all-time lows of liquidity on chain. We're at all-time lows of user interaction on chain. And that's the data we're working off of. I think it's all up from there. You know what I mean? All those metrics increase. Obviously, things could go a little lower. To me, it definitely seems like Richard wanted things to go lower since, the ProveX launch had pretty much only pairings with stables, which forced sells of RH tokens into stables, which then pushed the price down of every single asset. He knows how that stuff works. So if he did it, he had to know it was going lower.
Yeah.
So, And it actually looks like he's paired some with RH tokens, or someone has paired some with RH tokens now. So maybe that slows down a little bit, or hit levels they want to hit, or maybe he's trying to hold it down at these levels to let, pressure build. I don't really know what the plan is. That's, one reason I love PTDC, because we do know what the plan is, but we are along for the ride of, what this blockchain brings. But I do think volume increasing alongside liquidity, we have all the math proving that. And I think it's very fair to say, as liquidity increases, we can count on volume increasing pretty close to the same amount.
Yep. So this was what the value generation would look like: 2.4 at with 100x in liquidity, a $2.4 million in fees generated every week, and this is where they would go. Imagine $1 million every week going to the DAO to do whatever it wanted to, or burning $240,000 worth of PTGC, and then throwing in the UFOs 150,000. That'd be, $390,000 worth of PTGC burned in that 1 week. And then, let alone what's being paid to the holders and stakers. And we can project that by taking that median number, 47.78, which is a weekly metric, and then we'll divide that before we get off that page. 47.78 divided by 7 gives us a daily volume of $6.8 million. So then we bring it over to the rewards calculator, and we'll do a shark position, held and staked. And then the daily volume of 6,825,714. We're going to do, monthly. Let's see what we got. Monthly total reward of $4,800. APY of 69%. Well, that juices it up a bit, doesn't it?
Yeah. Hop over to the yearly now, if you don't mind.
No, not at all. I like yearly too. I like daily, monthly, and yearly. Those are my faves.
So yearly, that's almost $60,000 a year in additional tokens landing in your wallet. Again, with no risk of impermanent loss and the other things people usually have to take on to earn an APY with sustainable tokens.
Yep.
And when I mean sustainable, you have to always ask yourself, where is that APY coming from? People can pay you a high APY, but if it's coming from the price of your token, it don't matter. You know what I mean? If you've made a 10% or a 20% APY, but price is down 70%, and then the next year you make another 20% APY and price is down another 70%, like it didn't matter. You know what I mean? You also want the price appreciation alongside the APY. So you have to ask yourself, where is this APY coming from? With PTGC, it's coming from the value generation between, the fee that users are having to pay, or more importantly, the arbitrage bots are having to pay. External value coming in.
Okay, so and for the record, this is a shark position here. 290 million tokens. Today's value, $42,000. Okay, you can verify this on Deck Screener. That's our shark position is $42,000, and you're talking about in this situation generating $58,500 in a year, more than ROIing on that shark position. It's like ding, 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 ding. I can see what's going to happen. A lot of people are going to be happy with their APY. Is what's going to happen. Hexy Trucker asks, if my PTGC was worth $1 million and I swapped it on PulseX for USDC and set my slippage at 6%, would it be possible to get back $940,000 in USDC? I don't quite follow that. Would it be possible to get back?
Most likely not. You know what I mean? In the future, there's no saying what the liquidity will be worth, but on $1 million sell, there would be slippage involved. You're going to pay the 5% fee for sure. So on $1 million, 50,000, yeah, 50,000 would be going to the system, and what that creates is sustainability for the rest of the holders that are, staying on longer than you. Creates sustainability, growth, and APY for other people. And then the question, what you're asking is, what's the slippage of the sell, right? With a lot of tokens, there's not a lot of liquidity, so there's usually a lot of slippage, especially on $1 million sell. Our main focus is creating as much liquidity as possible to make as minimal slippage as possible in the future. I don't really know exactly what that number will be. What you're saying here is roughly a 1% slippage, because you said $60,000 of USDC, and we know 5% of that, so $50,000 of that would obviously go to the fee of PTDC, so that all that would be left for the slippage is $10,000. Depending on where the answer is depending on where our liquidity is at that moment, is if you'd be able to pull that off.
Yep.
But I do know, I do believe that PTDC will have some of the largest liquidity on Pulse Chain. So if you are going to try to pull something like that off, PTDC is probably going to be one of the safest ones to try to pull that off in, compared to most other tokens. On Pulse Chain, obviously, ETH or Bitcoin, you know what I mean? Like we got a long ways to go to catch up with them, but we are one of the most liquid tokens on chain.
Yep. Well, let's get the chain going. I mean, I'm ready, but we got to get our own little tokens going actually first.
Yep.
But we can onboard
more we
to
can
the
do
chain
now at these low prices, the more APY we're getting, the more tokens we're dripping into our wallets. If you're an onboarder, the more PTDC tokens you're getting for every onboard you get in. An onboard of $5,000 now is a whole lot different than an onboard of $5,000 after we 5DEX. You're going to get your onboard 5 times more tokens. You're going to do way more for the PTDC price because we have less liquidity right now. And you're going to do way more for yourself because you'll be earning 5 times more tokens as well as your reward for onboarding them.
Yep. All right, man. Is there anything else we needed to talk about?
I think that's it.
Spent all the time on the calculator, but that was just fine, man. That was, I mean, that calculator and I was thinking like the two most impactful calculators is that one and the locking calculator. All the other ones are just like, that's nice. I love it. But those two, and probably this one, oh man, that locking calculator is amazing too. They give you clarity on stuff that's like going on inside your head. You make these scenarios inside your head, but you can't trust that.
I still love the moon or the X multiplier one. That's my favorite. And I care more about the volume, I think, than the X's, but I think it illustrates just how easy it is to do the X's so well, and it's so easy to comprehend when you break it down like that. Like, guys, in crypto, it's so easy to pull off the 100X. You just don't blow your money on chasing a bunch of meme pump and dump tokens that are dead tomorrow. Find the right tokens. Look for the bottoms. We're here right now. This is the bottom. You're close to the bottom. You're not going to find the perfect day, but the good range of the bottom, and hodl in that project. If you did that with PTDC, you pulled off, I think, almost like an 80x in 7 months. Just in 7 months, we pulled off an 80x, and that was with Pulse Chain only doing like a 4x. I do believe Polshane's going to have a nice run this time. I believe in Polshane, I believe in Richard, and I believe in the math behind this product. Like, doing X's from here is very, very easy.
Yeah. Yep. I'm ready for it. I've been ready for it. Jan asks in the chat, she says, I buy my pulse all the time at Safe Trade and then swap them into PTDC and UFO. Are there other options to buy PLS? And I was going to bring up Spear. I don't know if you looked at this one, but it's spear.xyz. Let me see if I can get it pulled up. And I can't for whatever reason. I need to commit that to memory. I thought it was spear.xyz, but you can use your Venmo on there, and you can use some like Cash App and some of these very common apps, and you can buy right there with your Venmo and get Ethereum. I think you can get Ethereum, and then what you do is you go over to a Liberty Swap and swap from your Ethereum straight to PLS. I know it can be a bit of a process.
Yeah, I've never even heard of either of those. Not Liberty Swap. I heard of Liberty Swap, but Spear and Safe Trade, never heard of either.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find that one, because I should have it to memory, but Spear, I thought it was Spear. One of my buddies in a small group that I'm in recommended it to me, and he swears by it. He loves it. And I checked it out. I haven't used it, but I checked it out, and it looked really like useful, easy. It looked like an easy way to get from fiat into crypto. So hit me up, Jan, if you want to PM me. I'll find that link for you. I'll find that URL. All right, man. I think we're going to call it a stream.
Yeah, let's call it 7.
All right, man. Well, Zen will be on Telegram tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific. And then again on Thursday. And then we'll have we'll stream again. I wonder how we can test the spaces for Saturday. You want to just kind of just be ready for another train wreck like we had tonight?
I'm sure Elon will fix it by then.
I'll reach out. I'll send him a memo. Okay, man. Thanks, guys. Thanks everybody for showing up. Zen, have a good evening.
Yeah, you too. Thanks for I'm co-hosting. Thanks for hosting.
You're welcome. Appreciate you.
Yeah. See ya.
All right. See ya. USDT. Oh, we're still live. Okay. So he left. You're welcome, Paul. Let me, Jan, if you're still here, let me see if I can find that spear.xyz, because it's in my Telegram. I've got it in my Telegram. I just got to go search through my saved messages real quick. Give me a second. And if you're willing to hold on, I can scroll up and find that. Because for some reason I can't just search my messages. And I thought it was spear.xyz. Oh, it's peer. There it is. Peer.xyz. Peer.xyz. Let's pull this up, guys. Watch. You're a guy. Okay. It's peer.xyz. All right. Let me Miss Spear. Hold on. We're going to pull it up and I'll share my screen. Let's have a look at this. So you can buy and sell. So you can go from USD, you send USD with Venmo, and you receive, look, USDC, Ethereum, and you said you are swapping with USDT. I see. Okay. Well, that might change it a bit. So you're coming from, let's see if we can find USDT. I guess this is not going to work for you then. I wonder if you can use try Liberty Swap. Watch this, Liberty Swap. This is another excellent resource. Let's see if we can swap from USDT. I love Liberty Swap. They don't have, oh, there it is. You can go from USDT, let's say you're on Ethereum, to Pulse. There you go. Okay, cool. Cool. Excellent. All right, man. Everybody have a good night. We'll see you later in the week. Adios.